Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Snow White fairy tale or real life? Today I have a true mirror, mirror story and one of the greatest royal rivalries of history. Queen Elizabeth I of England and her cousin once removed, Mary Queen of Scots. Battle of the Queens with an ambassador as the mirror. Right now. I'm glad you're here. I'm Liam, a retired history professor, trained in British history. I want to tell a story in which a queen conquered an ambassador and her greatest rival with 6 trivial questions. She added her courtly mastery to her superior statesmanship in service to her country. Elizabeth I is widely considered by historians to be not only the greatest monarch in modern English history, but her name must be mentioned in any conversation about leaders in world history as well. She was the 5th, final, and longest reigning of the Tudor monarchs. She was the most unlikely person to come to the throne, but her country cheered when she ascended and hardly stopped cheering throughout her long reign. The most significant challenger to her claim to the throne was her first cousin once removed, Mary Stuart, Queen of Scotland. Theirs is often perceived to be a heated rivalry, but was it really? Some think it was fairly one-sided. Let's see. In September 1564, Elizabeth I subjected Sir James Melville, the Scottish ambassador to England, to a series of questions comparing herself to Mary, Queen of Scots. This 3-day interrogation must have made Melville very, very uncomfortable. You see, he had been sent by Mary to schmooze Elizabeth, I don't know how else to put it, to secure her own succession to England's throne. She'd given him quite a lengthy letter to that effect. Well, this is the story of how an ambassador became a mirror. So, Melville and Queen Elizabeth were discussing the latest Italian fashions, which Melville thought would suit Elizabeth well, when she suddenly blurted out, "Look at my hair color. Whose hair color is the best, Mary's or mine?" Melville did not answer as he looked at Elizabeth's curly reddish gold hair. He was clearly caught off guard. Without waiting, she asked a second related question. "Who has a more pleasing appearance?" Melville finally got enough courage to reply, "The fairness of each of you is not your worst fault, Your Majesty." Oh, this awful answer would not do. "I am serious," she said. "Which of us is the fairer?" Melville must have been sweating it out. "Well, you're the fairest queen in England, and Mary is the fairest queen in Scotland." Oh, brother. Now she looked angry. Melville was flailing and getting into real hot water. He tried again. "You're each the fairest lady of your courts. Your skin is fairer than my queen's, although she's also very pleasant." This seemed to satisfy her, but the interrogation continued with a third query. "Which of us is the taller?" Melville could answer this one. "Ah, so she is over high," said Elizabeth. "I am neither too tall nor too short." She allowed logic to emphasize her point. She asked a fourth question. "What kind of exercises does Her Majesty use?" The intensity lowered a bit, at least the ambassador thought. He gave a fuller answer to this question. She wasn't asking about physical exercise or calisthenics. This 16th century queen meant how Mary spent her free time. So Melville became chatty. This didn't seem like a serious question. "Well, since I arrived from Scotland, she's returned from a hunting trip. She also likes to read good books like the histories of various countries, and she enjoys playing the lute." That's a pear-shaped stringed instrument that was popular during the Renaissance. "And she plays the virginal, a keyboard instrument like a harpsichord." Uh-oh. Mary was known to have some musical talent. You see, this invited more comparison. "Does she play well Elizabeth asked the beginning of the fifth question. You'll see what I mean. Oh, she plays reasonably for a queen, Your Majesty. Another awful answer. She didn't seem to take offense at this reply, but at this they parted. However, as we shall see, she was not satisfied with that answer. Well, Melville had dinner that night with Henry Carey. He was Lord Hunsdon, another of Elizabeth's cousins who lived at court. He had been asked, probably by Elizabeth, to find a pretext to get Melville to a gallery with a music room. He turned to Melville. "Let's go listen to some music," he said. "But don't rat me out. Her Majesty does not play for men." So it's Her Majesty. When they heard playing, the ambassador stood in the hallway for a while. Then he crept closer. Peeking in, he noticed that Elizabeth was playing the virginal with her back to him. So he thought it safe to quietly step into the room. He noticed that she played excellently well, but in his reverie, he overstepped his bounds again. All at once, she turned and saw him. "For shame!" she cried, came toward him and made a fist with her left hand as if to hit him. "I never play in front of men," she said, "only by myself to chase away sadness. How did you happen to come here?" Melville spread out his hands apologetically. "I was just walking with Lord Hunsdon, Your Majesty, and as we passed by the chamber door, I heard such a sweet melody that it drew me into the room. Who knows how? Forgive me, I am crude. I was brought up in the French court." He then said he was willing to suffer whatever punishment Elizabeth might think appropriate. She cooled off. Then she sat down on a pillow, and she invited him to kneel beside her, and he did. But after he knelt, she handed him a pillow to rest his knee on. He refused it at first, but she insisted, and he took it. At that point, she called Lady Stafford from the next room, because she and Melville had been alone. Then she asked the ambassador the fifth question. "So, who plays the virginal best? Your queen or me?" He said, "You do, Your Majesty." Ha! Elizabeth was winning. Then she and Melville chatted about, and in, other languages for a while, until he seemed distracted. Elizabeth was miffed and said, "You get tired of my company before I get tired of yours." He said, "Oh, it's not a matter of getting tired, Your Majesty. It's just that I need your leave to return to Scotland." But she didn't answer him. Later she sent word that he would have to remain 2 days longer. He found out there was to be a court ball, and Elizabeth was detaining him so he could see her dance. Well, he stayed, and he attended the ball. And at the end of that evening, she asked, "So, who dances better, your queen or me?" Melville said, "My queen cannot dance in so elevated and dignified a manner as you." Elizabeth had won. She was pleased, lit up, and became conversational. "Oh, I wish I could meet your queen," that's her cousin, "at some convenient time and place." The ambassador was caught up in the moment and became, well, goofy. "Remember your first cousin, James V? How he used to dress in disguise at home and away? How once he went to France disguised? Your Majesty, you could dress like a page, and I could smuggle you into Scotland, and no one would be the wiser." She looked at him in an amused way. "I might just do that. At any rate, assure your queen of my love for her. I will send your dispatches to you." And at that, the queen and ambassador parted. The next day, Melville took a barge to London on his way home to Scotland. He had survived the interrogation of a queen. Scottish historian, and by the way, one of my heroes, Jenny Warmold, said that this story is about more than just Elizabeth's vanity. She took Melville through a masterclass, a ritual, displaying her courtly skills that she expected Melville would communicate to Mary. Also, Elizabeth was playful, but in contrast to Mary, had no intention of ever meeting her in person. She knew Mary's ambitions and her danger, and knew that such a meeting would not serve her. Besides, Elizabeth knew a great deal about Mary and also thought, in Wormold's words, that Mary would tirelessly nag her about the succession. History has told us the difference between the two. Mary, Queen of Scots, the tragic figure who didn't give a fig for Scotland, and that appeals to hopeless romantics, but promotes tourism, and Elizabeth, who brought political and religious stability, and whose statecraft, self-discipline, and love of England brought economic, cultural, and military success, and laid the foundation for perhaps the greatest empire in history. Yet, even in her 6 questions to Melville, Elizabeth demonstrated that she excelled the charming Mary in court manners. And by the way, they never met in person. In the video description, I provide the primary and secondary sources where you can read this true story for yourself. What do you think? Mary or Elizabeth? Write in the comments, and I'm sure Mary and Elizabeth would both expect you to like this video and subscribe to this channel, especially now. It's the courtly thing to do.